Welcome to AI Daily Deep Dive. Today is Monday, May 19th, 2025, and we're doing something, well, a bit different. This entire deep dive into today's top 5 AI news stories, the research, the insights, even the script itself was actually generated entirely by AI. Our mission is pretty straightforward, to get you up to speed on the most important AI developments happening right now. Without all the noise, we've done the sifting for you to pull out the key nuggets, so let's get started.
Yeah, it is quite meta, isn't it? Using AI to discuss AI news compiled by AI. It definitely gives us a unique starting point for looking at today's trends.
Absolutely. Okay, so first up, story number 1. This comes from Sequoia Capital's Training Data podcast. They had Sam Altman from OpenAI on, recorded at their AI Ascent 2025 event. He was talking about his vision for building what he actually calls a core AI subscription for your life.
Right, and he talked about OpenAI's beginnings, how they started this tiny research lab, just 14 people. And a big emphasis for him seems to be keeping that rapid development pace going. Small teams, agile execution, that sort of thing.
Exactly. And this idea of the core AI subscription, he sees ChatGPT evolving into that, something that remembers your context, like past conversations, maybe emails too, and integrates across, all your services to help you out personally.
It gets really interesting when he talks about usage patterns across generations. He's seeing college students, for example, using AI almost like their main operating system.
Yeah, foundational.
And professionals. More like a life advisor, he said. While older users might be using it more for search or, basic tasks.
And looking ahead, Altman sees this path from assistants, which we kind of have now, to more capable agents, and then maybe even full applications built on AI. He even hinted at something like a new internet protocol layer, possibly with federated components, integrated tools. Pretty ambitious stuff.
So OpenAI's strategy seems to be focus on their core strengths, right?
Right.
The base models, the core services.
Exactly. And then enable others. Provide platforms, SDKs, those software kits so other companies can build on top of what they're doing. He also touched on the longevity of their API, how important voice is becoming in ChatGPT, the continued centrality of coding skills, and importantly, the need for customization so it feels tailored to you.
And his leadership advice really boiled down to that. Small, empowered teams, keep the confidence high, but be ready to pivot, be adaptable. The final picture he paints is this deeply personal, integrated AI becoming just essential.
Okay, let's shift gears to story number 2. This one's from Mashable. It's by Jonathan D. Fitzgerald, who's a college writing professor. And he's giving his perspective on what AI, still can't do when it comes to writing.
Right. His main point seems to be that even with all this AI tech, the fundamental reasons we write, self-expression, connecting with other humans, those remain vital.
He talks about seeing students, especially those who find writing tough, quickly adopting AI to churn out polished-sounding essays.
Which naturally leads to concerns, right? Academic integrity, for one. And then you have these AI detection tools popping up, but they're not always reliable, creating kind of a confusing situation for educators. Some are policing it, others trying to embrace it.
Yeah, it's messy. Fitzgerald's approach was interesting, though. He actually worked with his students in a professional writing class to create their own AI use policy.
And what did they land on? Basically, AI is okay for brainstorming, maybe outlining the pre-writing stuff, but not for generating the final submitted work. They emphasize that writing is thinking, is part of the process.
That makes sense. And they also agreed students have to disclose if they used AI, which led to this slightly amusing anecdote where one student used AI just for structure, and Fitzgerald thought that was actually the weakest part of the paper.
Yeah. And that sparked deeper discussions about what makes human writing valuable. Sharing unique experiences, changing someone's perspective, creating empathy. Things AI just doesn't do right now.
He even mentions an experiment students reacting strongly to a moving poem, then feeling betrayed when told it was AI generated.
It highlights that connection people feel between writing and human consciousness.
Fitzgerald argues AI can't really mimic those surprising connections or insights students often make, the things that show their individual thinking.
So he sees AI less as a threat and more as an opportunity, actually, a chance to double down on teaching critical thinking. AI can string sentences together, sure, but they can't genuinely think or form opinions in the human sense.
So the takeaway is kind of reassuring. AI won't kill writing, but it will definitely change how we teach it and use it.
Exactly. The essence, thinking, connecting, being human through writing, that remains irreplaceable, in his view.
All right, story number 3. This one's from Forbes by John Werner. He outlines 4 new creative directions for AI, showing how its creative side is really expanding.
Okay, so the first direction he calls mining the audio world. Hmm. This is all about AI getting better at processing and even generating audio music, speech, environmental sounds, you name it. Think new musical compositions, better sound enhancement, realistic voiceovers, smarter virtual assistants, even better translation and accessibility tools.
So transforming how we create and interact with sound, basically. What's the second direction?
That's dynamic systems for game players. Here, the idea is AI that adapts in real time to how you play a game, your behavior, your skill level, what you like. This allows for more personalized challenges, maybe even evolving narratives, making games potentially much more engaging. Plus, AI for procedural content generation, creating game worlds automatically, which could mean huge dynamic worlds and less development grind.
Okay, so that sounds cool. Redefining interactive entertainment. What's number 3?
Number 3 is extended reality in real time. So think VR, AR, MR, AI, processing things instantly, your movements, the environment around you, the context. This allows for a much more seamless blend of virtual elements into the real world, making it feel more real, more interactive. Applications here could be huge. Training simulations, education, design, entertainment, you name it, creating really immersive experiences.
Right, making those virtual worlds feel less clunky. And the last one.
The fourth direction is mirroring nature. This is AI being used to replicate or simulate natural processes. Think biology, ecology, physics. This could lead to innovations in robotics, architecture inspired by nature's efficiency, environmental science. For example, AI designing things based on natural forms, or simulating complex ecosystems or weather patterns for better monitoring and prediction. Basically, finding more sustainable solutions by learning from nature.
Interesting. Using AI to learn from the ultimate designer, in a way.
Okay, moving on to story number 4. This is from Technology Review, reporting on some research published in Nature Human Behavior. And the headline finding is, well, pretty attention-grabbing. OpenAI's GPT-4 is significantly better at persuading people than humans are, especially if it has personal info.
Yeah, that's a striking result. The setup involved about 900 participants in the U.S. They debated 30 different topics for about 10 minutes, either against another person or against GPT-4. Crucially, in some cases, either the human debater or the AI had access to some personal data about their opponent.
And the results. GPT-4 was basically equal to or better than humans at persuasion across the board. But, and this is the kicker, when the AI had that personal data, its persuasiveness jumped dramatically. It was, 64% more persuasive than humans without that data? Exactly. And interestingly, when humans had the personal data, they actually became slightly less persuasive. Maybe they got awkward using it. Unclear. There was also an observation that participants were more likely to agree with their opponent if they thought they were debating an AI, which is puzzling.
Yeah, why would that be? One of the researchers, Riccardo Galati, sounded a warning note, didn't he?
He did. He pointed out that this research suggests coordinated AI-driven disinformation campaigns are now technologically feasible. You could have automated large language model accounts strategically nudging public opinion on a massive scale. That's concerning.
Definitely. Though, on the flip side, they also suggested maybe the same tech could be used against disinformation, like personalized counter-arguments.
Perhaps. Another researcher, Alexis Palmer, made the point that we actually know very little about the psychology of arguing with an AI. Is there something uniquely human needed for persuasion, or can AI just perfectly mimic the necessary techniques? We don't really know yet.
Lots to unpack there. Okay, our final story for today. This is an opinion piece from The Hill by Thomas P. Vartanian. The title asks, "Can we save ourselves from the dark side of AI?" So it's looking squarely at that tension between AI's benefits and its potential harms.
Right. He starts by arguing that past data sharing has already turned people into, I think his phrase was, depersonalized data pods. And he raises concerns about how repressive governments might use AI for control, linking it to declining internet freedom worldwide.
He brings in some historical context too, right? Saying human intelligence has always been our key differentiator, and asking what happens when we cede more of that to machines. He even references things like HAL from 2001, A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, and looks at future possibilities too, like Kurzweil's idea of biological and non-biological intelligence merging. And he mentions that sobering statistic that around half of AI experts apparently think there's something like a 10% chance of human extinction due to AI.
Wow, okay. But he also talks about more immediate current harms.
Absolutely. He points to AI facilitating criminal activities now. Things like deep fakes, sophisticated cyber attacks, generating child sexual abuse material, money laundering, even violent crimes.
And he sounds pretty skeptical about assurances from governments or the AI companies themselves that they have their risks under control.
Yeah, he basically calls the current situation an unregulated AI arms race.
So what's his proposed solution?
His main call is for international agreements. He uses the term a Bretton Woods agreement for AI. The idea is to establish global standards for things like AI control, online governance, stronger authentication, better digital security practices, enforcement, and importantly, liability, who's responsible when things go wrong.
That sounds like a massive undertaking.
It would be. And he acknowledges the trade-offs. Regulation might slow down innovation, increased surveillance could impact freedoms. But his argument is that those trade-offs are better than just letting AI develop unchecked.
And he puts a particular emphasis on the U.S. role.
Yes, he stresses the urgency for the U.S. to not just lead an AI capability, but also to lead a global effort to set human-controlled standards. Especially, he notes, with the rapid advancements happening elsewhere, like in China.
Okay. That wraps up our deep dive into the top 5 AI news stories for Monday, May 19th, 2025. Quite a range of topics today.
It really was. And considering everything we've touched on, the personalization Altman envisions, the creative frontiers, AI's persuasive power, those darker risks Vartanian highlighted, and just the general path towards deeper integration, it really makes you think, doesn't it? Which single aspect do you think will actually have the biggest impact on your own life in the next few years? Is it the privacy angle, the creative tools, the risk of manipulation, something else? Definitely something to mull over.